Hey PPC friends, and welcome to this channel. This is actually going to be the first episode of a new format that I'm testing, Amazon Advertising Newsflash. And basically I'm just going to be talking about anything that's new in the Amazon PPC sphere with, tool updates from the campaign manager, from any kind of ad type that you're using, and also from the big players in this whole market, the softwares and perhaps the big agencies. Not quite sure about those yet. But yeah, that's the plan. And if you generally are interested in Amazon advertising and getting the most out for your Amazon business, then feel free to subscribe and just be informed about the latest tips and news pretty much on a weekly basis. But having said that, if there's no news about Amazon advertising, then there's not going to be a video. I'm not going to do it for the sake of it. So really, I'm just going to put it out there when there's something worth telling. Okay, now let's just get right into it, shall we? For this first episode, basically I selected free news for you guys, which is, on the one hand, Campaign Manager actually moving away from Seller Central to the Advertising Console. This might, be a bit scary at first, might be a little bit, worrisome for some of you guys, but it is actually, in my opinion, quite a cool move for everybody involved. The second thing is that we are going to look at sponsored brands which have made optimizing it actually really kind of easy, right? So they kind of enabled something which you'd think was already possible before, but it wasn't. So it has been actually quite a frustrating thing to do, to manage, and right now it's finally going to be possible, and we're going to talk about that. And then finally, we're also going to have a quick look at one of those big players in the advertising sphere, which is Sellics. And they just brought out yesterday quite a big update to their product offering. And we're going to have a look at what that kind of entails for little sellers, big sellers, and who will want to make use of that. Okay, so then let's get right to the first news. So basically, I am in the Seller Central now, and as you can see, it looks as usual. But when you go to the advertising menu and you click on Campaign Manager, it is actually going to take you to the new Advertising Console. Well, I shouldn't really say new because it's not actually new. It's been used by vendors and also by offers, so they're kind of finally uniting it all, and right now also sellers will get to this advertising.amazon.com or co.uk in my case, right? And personally, I find it really about time that this is going to happen because it looks so much more modern. I've always liked this view far more than the other old, really unmodern Campaign Manager view, right? This is also kind of already preparing to be like a mobile friendly page as well. So that's kind of a clue that at some point I'm guessing they want it to be manageable via mobile because they know everything is going to mobile. Nobody's on their laptops anymore, and probably in the future even more so. So, this is already the first kind of step, I think, towards that. And in general, I just think it's great news for everybody because now we know the whole, advertising team and API team behind this whole management page is basically focusing on one project now. While in the past, they were probably split up in two projects or even two teams and working on the campaign manager for sellers and then the advertising consoles for the others. So that was probably not very efficient. And we can probably, expect quite a bit more in terms of improvements and stability, basically, for that whole advertising platform, right? So that is pretty cool, in my opinion. Basically, everything, is the same. You'll find all the things that you had before, and yeah, it just looks better, in my opinion. So that's quite a cool update to tell you about. And I was very pleasantly pleased when I clicked on it today and yeah, just landed over here. And if you want to go back to Seller Central, you can just go here and click here. So that's news number 1. And basically, I have another tab here. Oh yeah, that was just to show you what you see when you're going to enter it, basically telling you what I just told you. You're going to have a simplified navigation and apparently also notifications up here. Yeah, you have to test that out. And also account management, right? So you can switch quite easily at the top right between your accounts if you have multiple accounts. And obviously this is going to be interesting for agencies especially. So yeah, that is all pretty cool and pretty newsworthy, I would say, for a first Amazon advertising flash news episode. Okay, so let's move to news number 2, which is sponsored brands being editable. Now, what does that mean? Now, if you're going to look at this video maybe in 1 year or so, you might be struggling to, understand why this is even newsworthy, because you can't imagine that it was different at any point. But the truth is, it was different. So in the past, once you created this kind of ad, you would not be able to edit, the text, edit the products that are in here, or even the logo. So you would have to basically pause that campaign, create a new campaign basically, and maybe change the title or maybe change another product. So that's how you would go about, to do kind of A/B testing, for example, or just generally, try to make improvements basically. So that is now finally not necessary anymore. And basically you can just go into that kind of campaign and you can, change everything, change the text that you want here. You can change the products over here. And basically it's a normal ad now. So this is the future now. People in the future won't be able to understand the frustration that was there in the past. Right now you can change all of these things, and yeah, that's good news for anybody who wants to get into sponsored brands and test things out there. Now is a much better time to do so and to finally start doing so if you haven't already. Okay. So another small news concerning sponsored brands. Actually, I didn't put it into the video title, but this is also pretty cool. So from the blog here, basically they are making translations available. So if somebody has, another language set for their Amazon browsing, basically, then what your text of your sponsored brand ad is showing, then they're going to translate that text, right? I'm not actually sure if that's really desirable or how good those translations are, but, let's just say for those customers that really don't speak English, for example, and then, see that Spanish text instead, I guess it can only be good. So that's just a side little news from May 4th. And yeah, that is the last news from Seller Central itself. And now the final news I have for you guys is the mentioned update from Sellix. You will probably know the software already if you've ever Googled anything in the realms of Amazon tool or Amazon PPC automation tool or whatever. So basically what they did is they made another tool out of the features that they already have. Now, hear me out. It sounds like it's nothing's happened, but so in the past you had this all-in-one solution, right? Either as an agency or as a seller or as a vendor, and basically you would get all of their features for that one price. Basically, review management, Amazon SEO, keyword research, keyword optimization, profit analysis, and more stuff. And people did not always want all of those features. So these people basically are going to be happy to hear that the strongest feature of Sellix, it has always been their, how do you say that in English? Their primary horse or something. There's a better expression, I'm sure. So it's like the leading horse basically of their software, basically the PPC automation So for those of you guys that are not interested in the all-in-one features, in all the other features, you can now use the automation of Sellics only, and then only pay for that, right? So basically, for anybody who, who just wants to use the automation rules from Sellics, you can now do so. And currently it's at $89. Obviously, I cannot promise you that's going to stay like this, but definitely this is really the best price you're going to get for the best advanced automation out there. I know they've been working a long, hard time on this stuff. And so I know, there's been a lot of improvements. If you've tried it before and maybe you thought you were paying too much because you didn't want those other features, well, now's a good time to try it out again. And by the way, you also have the option to go for this one where you have autopilot. This is like machine learning. This is actually also quite new, and maybe you didn't know about that yet, that they have that, but it's actually the best machine learning automation for Amazon advertising out there currently as well. But this is probably not interesting for too many of you, and the smaller and medium sellers might also not be big enough anyway. So this is going to need some eligibility checkup before you can actually use it from Sellics, because they need enough data for the machine to learn basically and then optimize your ads. So they're not going to just accept you and then kind of risk, a bad performance and then you not being happy, and nobody wants that. And yeah, so probably this is the best solution for you. In all honesty, I'm not sure I would recommend to this one. They just probably put it there so there's like a little thing between starter and premium. But honestly, I'm not sure you're going to need the personalized onboarding. Just go to help.sellics.com. You'll find some great videos there to onboard yourself, basically. But if you do want a personalized onboarding, I would imagine, and I'm sorry, Sellics, for me giving that idea to people, but I'm trying to be the honest and neutral source for all things PPC on Amazon here. So basically, I would imagine you can pay that $179, but then it makes no sense to keep paying that for the rest of the months. So I would only pay for the first month if you really want that personalized onboarding, and then ask, if you can downgrade to the starter plan, right? And if that's not possible, probably just start out with the starter plan and, get yourself the best automation out there right now for a very reasonable price, I would say. So really, this is something that every seller basically should be looking at if you're serious about your business, if you're serious about making the most out of your Amazon advertising. And if you want to save a ton of time, optimizing those bids and moving keywords from the automatic campaigns to your broad phrase exact campaigns, things like that, all those daily adjustments and daily tasks that are very repetitive, you will not have to do anymore with these rules. Okay. And yeah. One more thing maybe about pricing, because this tool is actually not interesting this product basically is not interesting for everybody. So I would say for the very small sellers just starting out, you should get yourself the whole all-in-one edition where you get all the PPC features as well. So actually here the pricing is lower for those sellers that have annual sales between 1K and 60K right now. So there you're going to only pay $67 per month. And yeah, so if you're just starting out, really there's no reason to only go for the advertising solution. Just go for the $67 all-in-one solution. I don't know how long it's going to stay like this, but for now, that's the one you want if you want to make the most out of your advertising. And in this case, even get all of these other features to manage reviews, profit, etc. Okay, and that is actually it. Just want to look at this one quickly. Yeah, if you're, let's say, a medium seller, it's probably also worth it for those extra $10 to go for the all-in-one edition instead, right? So that's just my opinion at least. But for those of you that are just interested in the PPC software, now you have a solution. that focuses explicitly on that. So those are the big free news from Amazon Advertising on May 8th, 2020. And if you're interested in more tips and more news, I've mentioned it before, you know what to do. And if you have any questions about this video, perhaps about any of the news I mentioned, or if you have news that I missed, I'll be very happy to have a look at those and mention those in my next video. Also, if you're like a software provider and you have perhaps some kind of update to your PPC software, let me know and I'll be happy to share those as well. And yeah, so much for that. I hope you enjoyed this and I'll see you in the next one.